Hey guys, we are back with part 2, Danielle and Bryan, Hero's Journey podcast with Tony Orlando. So we cut you off, and here's the thing. You had Cupid and here's
tie
something.
Yellow ribbon.
Tie yellow. No, this is what I'm getting at, because it was tie yellow ribbon round the old oak tree, right?
Right.
So what I noticed is Knock 3 Times on the Ceiling, Tie Yellow Ribbon. Those songs were big hits in a time when you were putting it on the female to say, hey, if you want me, tie yellow ribbon around the tree. If you want me, knock 3 times on the ceiling.
I didn't realize that.
Cupid, draw back your bow.
Hello.
You were waiting.
We have a real Casanova.
Exactly.
Hey, Elvis Monroe, you better put that in your chart.
I was like, I noticed that songwriting. I went, wow.
I want to hear about Nancy Reagan, right? With Tie a Yellow Ribbon. What was the story?
It was actually with Betty Ford.
Oh, Betty Ford. Okay.
In fact, if you watch the show on about First Ladies right now, I think it's on Netflix. I'm not sure what was it, one of those.
Yeah.
And they have each First Lady story. Well, one of the stories is of Betty Ford. And I was very close to Betty Ford and the Ford family.
Okay.
And so the 1976 Republican convention, myself, Sonny Bono, and Cary Grant were there to support this wonderful man named Gerald Ford, who, by the way, inherited the presidency, was not voted in. Because when Nixon went out, he stepped in. Was he stepped in.
Right.
So this was his chance to win the presidency, right? And you never met a nicer man or nicer family. So I'm in the presidential box. This is what you're referring to, I think, in that now documentary that's on television, with Betty Ford. And in comes Nancy Reagan. Now remember, we're in Kansas City, it's 20,000 people. We don't know that Nancy Reagan's making an entrance. We have no idea where I'm sitting with, at least I thought we had no idea.
Right.
So this is in Nancy Reagan's book, and it's also in Betty Ford's book, so it's documented truth, okay? So I'm sitting next to her, and Yellow Ribbon starts to play. And in comes Mrs. Reagan. And Mrs. Ford says to me, "Want to dance?"
Oh.
They're playing your song. I go, "Oh, sure." We get up and we start dancing. And Walter Cronkite splits the screen and he says, "Look at this. Tony Orlando and Betty Ford upstaging the entrance of Nancy Reagan."
Oh, my gosh.
Okay? Unbeknownst to me.
Right.
But when I'm dancing with Mrs. Ford, she says, "Do you know who's watching us?" I said, "Who's watching us?" She goes, "All 3 networks." Which made me realize that she knew this was going to happen.
Oh.
How did that happen? I'll share. And I've never shared this with anybody.
Oh,
this is
wow. This is the first.
Exclusive.
There we go.
So there was a guy named Ray Caldero who did the inaugurals for Sinatra, for Reagan, did the inaugurals for a lot of presidents, okay? He noticed that Mrs. Reagan had 6 songs to make an entrance to. One of them was Yellow Ribbon. He was associated with the Fords. He said to himself, if I play Yellow Ribbon on her entrance, the camera is definitely going to come to the presidential box where Betty is.
Right.
So he knew. So he called down the Secret Service. Secret Service then tells Betty, this is going to happen. So this was an amazing moment because it looked like the wives were battling each other the way they presented it on CBS, NBC, ABC, and in those days there was only 3 networks. There was no cable. So
Right.
you had 60 million people watching this.
Wow.
Okay? And the next day it was the front page of the New York Times. There I was dancing with Betty Ford, and that's why it's in that documentary right now. That's the relationship that happened. So it goes on. It goes on. It goes on. So Nancy Reagan was always known to be tough.
Right.
Especially when it came to her man, okay? So I go now to the Presidential Library. I'm co-hosting with Sammy Davis the Presidential Library for Gerald Ford in his home state. So there I am co-hosting. I look up and I see 3 presidents, Reagan, Carter, Ford. in the box right above me. It's my turn to sing Tie Yellow Ribbon. So I take the song, and I go, and I sing, and he leaves, I do Tie Yellow Ribbon. I look up, and I see one guy mouthing the words. It's Ronald Reagan. And he's mouthing, tie a yellow ribbon. I see him like a president. Right? So we meet them afterwards. I'm going to meet now the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
How cool.
He comes walking up to me, the warm hello, puts his hand in mine. Tony, well, Tony, it really was a pleasure watching you perform that song. You bring home the troops. You're something. And he's giving me all these compliments. And I'm saying, thank you. And Sammy Davis is right next to me. And Sammy says, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Now comes the wife, right next, coming up next to me. And I say, oh, hello, Mrs. Reagan. And she puts her hands up like this, like, stop, don't even go there. And I went,
oh, no.
She didn't forget.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
You got shut down by the first lady.
I got shut down like no truth. Like, look at the hand. You know what I mean?
Talk to the hand.
Talk to the hand.
So that was the OG talk to the hand.
I was done. She didn't forget, man.
That's a wrap.
She
Thank
let
you and
me
good
know
night.
it. Here he was so warm, and she was, oh, no, you don't. So, this is a crazy life. So you say I'm a legend.
Yeah.
If you say I'm a legend, I don't think that way about
No,
myself.
well,
I'm John's dad.
Exactly. You're John's dad. You are exactly.
Humble.
But
Very
you're
humble.
very humble, but all these stories and
You know what I learned, Elvis? Fame isn't really fame at all. It only appears that way from a distance.
right. But here's the thing. Your stories keep fueling the people behind us that are coming up.
Oh,
our
God,
stories.
I hope so.
And that's what it's about.
It's about inspiring people.
I hope so. Hey, I'll tell you a story about Frank Sinatra. You want to hear something?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I was going to get to that. I wanted you to tell us about Oh Blue Eyes.
Remember I
Come
told
on.
you I was up in his apartment, right?
Yeah.
So he got me through that, right? But let me tell you about the first time I ever met Frank Sinatra,
Okay.
which really underlines exactly what you're saying about the young person, okay?
Right.
So I get a call from a guy named Jilly Rizzo, who was Frank Sinatra's best friend, and owned a club in New York called Jilly's, which all the boys would go to.
Right.
Okay. And he says to me, hey, Tony, and I had knocked 3 times out, but I was still working for Clive. I hadn't left the group. I haven't started the group yet. Mm-hmm. I was still working for Clive Davis. He goes, are you going to leave the company and go out with the group? I said, yeah, because I heard that. He said, would you like to meet Frank? I said, what? Come to the Friars Club and meet Frank tomorrow night. Do you have a tuxedo? I said, yeah. You got a red hanky? I go, yeah, make sure it's a red hanky, not a white. Put the red hanky, because that was the club. Dean,
Really?
Frank always had the red hanky, never white hanky. Very seldom you see him in white. It's just a thing that they had. So I get my tux, and I go to the green room.
Okay.
And I'm standing watching Frank Sinatra line everybody up where they're going to end up on the dais. You know how they do, right? So that
Yeah.
everybody can end up at their seat. So Frank goes, Elizabeth, that's Elizabeth Taylor. Richard, that's Richard Burton. They're married. I stand in the front of the line. Mickey, that's Mickey Rooney. Stand behind them. Cagney, will you stop talking to Rickles? Rickles, will you stand behind? And
Oh, my
He goes,
God.
Gregory Peck, stand behind. He's going through every major movie star I have ever seen in my life. Okay?
Wow.
And he goes, Tony, Orlando, follow me, which put me behind him in front of all those people.
Oh, my God.
So I look, he goes, get off,
Yeah.
So he says, get online. So I get online, I'm walking behind Frank, and I go, Mr. Sinatra, why are you doing this? He says, just shut up and just follow me. So we get up. It's a double dais, right? A double dais.
Yeah.
So he says, Mickey, that's Mickey Rooney, go get Tony's card that's at the end of the table. I didn't know I was even invited to the table, and put it directly behind me. You take his seat. Yes, sir, boss, Mickey Rooney says. And he goes,
Wow.
and he takes that and he puts it down. Now, we were paying tribute to Gene Kelly. And the reason I was invited by Jilly was because he knew that was my favorite movie, Singing in the Rain. It was what lit my light bulb out to be in show business, okay?
Grease was mine, but go ahead.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now you got Gene Kelly being honored, and I'm sitting right behind Sinatra. I'm above him because the dais, my seat was above his podium. He was the host. So he starts talking, and we take a break, and I go, why are you doing this? He goes, I said, shut up. I said, okay. So now we come to the end of the show. I don't dare say why you're doing this.
Right.
I figure, let me wait till he comes to me now. He turns to me and says, come here, Tony. Now ask me, Mr. Sinatra, this is amazing. Really? Why did you do this? He goes, let me ask you a few questions. Who was the host tonight? I said, you are, sir. Where are everybody's eyes? On you, sir. Who is sitting directly behind me in view of their eyes? I am, sir. Who is the new kid on the block? I am, sir. He said, well, welcome to show business. That's how we treat the new kid on the block.
That's amazing.
That's what you were just saying
That's
about
amazing.
that
Yeah.
young person coming up. That's what those guys had. Frank and Dean and Sammy and Jerry and those, they cared about that young performer, that Wayne Newton, that Tony Orlando, that young performer, that we would feel comfortable under one rule, that we did not disrespect the stage, that we did not disrespect the audience, that we made it not about us, but about them.
That's amazing. We talked about this, didn't we?
Yeah.
We talked about this yesterday, about how in the entertainment business, for me, it's about making sure that this is my time. I'm here to entertain you.
Exactly.
I'm not here to impart my views, my politics, my religion, anything like that. I am here to entertain you. And you said something, Singing in the Rain. That sparked that in you.
Yep.
That's a musical, right? So Grease was mine, which is like, it's not like it was that led me to old Elvis stuff as a kid, which led me down this path.
And I just spoke to John Travolta just recently, just last week.
No way.
Yeah. I asked him to be a guest on my show. I said, hey, do you remember me calling you when you were leaving Carter? He said, I do remember that.
See, this is before her time. Welcome Back, Carter is a TV show.
Yeah.
That he was
And
on.
He was on it. John Travolta played, if you're out there listening, John Travolta played Vinny Barbarino.
I don't believe you
Yes.
remember that, man.
No, because my mom, like I
You had to
said,
be
Vinny
2 years old.
Barbarino.
yeah, but still, it was one of those things where that stuck, that character. When we played on the last episode, we played the video of you knock 3 times on the ceiling when you were in London. That you were Vinny. You were the living embody. I mean, think about it. The Fonz was created out of what? Stallone and the guy in Lords of Flatbush.
But Lords of Flatbush and Stallone came after.
Right. But, it did.
Yeah.
No, but the characters.
But that was just you know
That
what it was from?
thing.
It was from Marlon Brando's The Wild Ones. The motorcycle. That's where the motorcycle got. Your
Really?
jacket
Yeah.
came from The Wild Ones. Go back.
Did you ever
and
meet
get
Brando?
Never did. Would have loved to have met him.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
never did. I once saw him at a pancake house
Okay.
in Encino,
Nice.
which had shocked me. But there he was sitting in the corner with 3 of the most beautiful Tahitian women you ever saw in your life. And I didn't dare go near him. He just didn't look like the type that would like a person coming up near him. No, there's really.
Right.
I started to go and I said, oh, I don't think so. And I walked away, because he had an aura about him no, I'll invite you.
Yeah.
He did.
Okay.
And he had a right to. But Sinatra, but I look back at that day, what you just said, and you go out there and you give to the people, that's your payment. That's your paycheck.
No, I say that. Thank you, and thanks for, pointing that out and reminding me. But I say that all the time. In that, the travel, the rehearsals, all the work that I put in,
the overhead.
that's what I'm getting paid for. Because standing on that stage, I'll do for free.
In
that
many
part.
ways, you are. I'll tell you why. after taxes, after overhead,
Yes.
after
Management
agency fees, after management, after per diems,
Yes.
okay, after tipping,
Tax,
you're
tipping.
you are doing it for nothing.
Exactly.
You know,
You're paying
Taylor
to do it.
Taylor Swift's dad and I had a conversation about that, and I said, "Hey, man, how many trucks does she have?" He goes, "Well, she has 5 buses and I think 7 semis."
Oh, wow.
And I went, "How much does it pay? What is she?" He goes, "Tony, it gets to the point where you can't believe what we're spending on the road, the overhead." So he said, Taylor came in one day and said, "Dad, we're renting these buses, right?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Let's buy it. Let's buy the bus company." She
Smart.
bought the bus company, literally,
Yeah.
and now charters it out
To other people.
to other people.
Right.
Smart.
Yep.
Because
That's
the
where to go.
overhead out there and the travel, you get paid for traveling.
Right.
Traveling is a bitch,
Yeah. It's,
right? And when you're my age, it even becomes a bigger bitch. Trust me.
So do you still, I don't mean to cut you
Yeah.
off, but you're still performing,
Cut
right?
me off. It's your podcast. Buddy.
No, man, that's what,
You cut me off. You're a gentleman, and I love you for it. But you are the boss here.
now still, I want, trust me, you, so you
Are you still
perform.
out there on the
Yeah,
road?
yeah. Prior to the pandemic, I was doing 100 dates a year.
Wow.
So if you count traveling days, I'm never home.
Okay,
Internationally or domestically?
Internationally,
mostly? Okay.
domestically mostly, but internationally too. Yeah, Taiwan, Malaysia,
What keeps you going?
England. People.
so great answer.
You know, this is the only business in the world where you can walk into a room full of strangers and leave with a whole bunch of new friends.
100%. Amen to that. Yep.
Yeah.
Where can you find a job like that? Of course. I mean, and I'm thinking about pulling back a little bit now. I'm 78, and there's a point where you say, I can still hit the ball, but I can't run the bases.
The teacher back there was shaking his head no, like you were going to slow down. You said you were slowing down.
Hell no, that's incredible. 78. My God.
Right?
Yeah.
You look damn good.
But you know what? I'm 2 years younger than Paul McCartney, so there you go.
Wow. Oh,
And he's
have
still
you
going,
met?
and he's a lot richer than me, let me tell you.
Have you met Paul
Oh,
McCartney?
yes. Oh, yes. I'll tell you a story.
Yeah, no, please. That's what this is
I'll
about.
tell you a story about Paul. So I recorded a song in 1962 with Lou Adler, who producing.
Yeah.
Lou produced a lot of hit films. And Lou, in fact, I think he was involved with Grease, if I'm not mistaken. And so Lou said to me, let's go in the studio. And I was just turning 18 years old. Let's go in the studio and cut Beautiful Dreamer. Beautiful Dreamer, right? I said, really? Yeah, but let's do it. Let's do it a little funky. He said, do it like, for me, just do a little Ray Charles on it. So I said, okay. So I go in the studio, and I cut Beautiful Dreamer. So all these years later, and it was like a no hit here, but a semi-hit in England.
Right.
So this album comes out, the Beatles, and it's called BBC 1 and 2. I don't know if you know this.
I
It's
did not.
All the performances that they did live on the BBC radio, which is the network for all of England, right?
Okay.
This is just at the beginning of their career. So they had hits, She Loves You and those early, and they would go on and do a 2-hour special, and they would do other people's songs, their songs, etc. Beatles.
Right.
So the album comes out, and I look and I see Beautiful Dreamer, Beatles. Inspired by Tony Orlando record 1962.
No way.
And I go, wait a minute.
The Beatles has cut my song.
This is going back to the note that Elvis just sent
Yeah,
me.
exactly.
Hang on a second. Wait a minute. I had something to do with the Beatles? So Paul is in town. I had met Paul. I have to reverse the story.
Yeah,
now.
please.
I had met Paul when I was doing the television show. He was a big fan of the television show. And he calls me up on the studio, and I again did one of these, come on, who is this? And it was Paul McCartney. He says, listen, I'm in the studio next door. Why don't you come over, and I'm cutting tonight Wings. And I said, is this really you? He goes, yeah, no, it's me, Tony. Hello. And I said, so he's cutting, listen to what the man says. You know the record?
Yeah, listen to what the man said.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the song. Yeah.
So I go in, and there's Paul. What shocked me about Paul was how tall he was. I wasn't
Really?
expecting a short guy. He's a tall guy. And that's what my heels on, so he's tall. So I walk in, because I wore those high heels then, those big high heels back in the 70s. So I walk in, and of course he's married to that beautiful lady of his, that first wife.
Yeah.
And she's sitting in a yoga position on the top of the desk that oversees the studio. Tom Scott is being the sax player, famous sax player, is playing the sax part on Listen to What the Man Says. That's what he's overdubbing. So he goes, Tom, shall we do it? And Tom goes, I'm ready, Paul. Now it's my first time with Paul in a studio, right?
How cool.
And he starts playing the sax solo to Listen to What the Man Says. Da-da-da, bo-do-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Bo-do-da, ba-da-da-da-da, right? And that sax. So Paul had him play the sax as a solo with no vocals on it for the whole song, and then he would choose where he wanted to insert sax, right?
Right.
So he plays it, and Paul looks at me and he goes, Tony, I think we've got it. Right? So he goes, Tom, I think we've got it. First take. Tom goes, no, Paul. No, Paul, let me do it. I can do it better, please. I'm on a Paul McCartney record. I want to get it right, please. I was just warming up. You were just warming up? He lets this guy do this solo 14 more times. Never said we've got it after the third or fourth. Let this guy get his thing going.
Right.
And then finally, Tom goes, Paul, I've got nothing left. He said, Tom, we've got it. Tom goes, first take. That's right, Tom. All right?
Yeah.
That's my first time meeting him. So
Wow.
later on, he's playing the MGM Grand. My guitar players in my band, who I've been with for 25 years, love McCartney, love the Beatles. Eat, sleep, and shit the Beatles.
Of course.
So I go, you want to meet Paul? You guys, for your birthday? He goes, oh, come on, Tony. Really? Yeah. So I call him GM. I get a hold of Paul McCartney. I said, Paul, I got my guitar players. They love you like everybody does. Can they come? It's his birthday. He goes, come, bring them. So I get there. We walk up to Paul, and Paul winks at me, knowing he says, Tony, which one is birthday? Which one is it?
Right.
I said, the guy on the left. Okay, comes in. Now he has a glass in one hand and music in the other. So I went to take the glass from him and the music from his arm. He goes, no, if you take that away, I'll be signing autographs for the next 2 hours. So that was a deal. No one wanted to. He had the glass to drink, and he had the music in his left. No one's going to say, sign this for me.
Right.
Interesting,
Smart.
right? Without being rude to anybody.
Right.
Okay, so now he goes, Tracy Cole, my boy, it's your birthday, is it? Well, us Liverpool boys don't normally do this. But here goes, happy birthday, and he kisses him right on his cheek.
Wow.
And my guitar player takes a picture with him, which I'll send you the picture.
Yeah.
Me, him, and Paul. And this is my guitar player's eyes. And it was really real, it was really real. And he walked out there going, I can't believe I just met Paul. My one time meeting John was at the Grammy Awards. He was on stage with Paul Simon and Andy Williams, who was hosting at that time. And I see him coming towards me, John. And I knew, you know someone's coming to you across this floor. And I'm watching him coming. He's coming with determination. And he had a Elvis, he was talking about Elvis.
Yeah.
He had an Elvis pin on his lapel, diamond. It said Elvis on his lapel. And he comes, and he never did the Grammys because they never won the Grammys.
Wow.
Right. Wow. So and Elvis never won a Grammy.
Yeah, no, I
up
know.
until the spiritual one, the
Right.
gospel album. So he comes walking up towards me. John does, and he says, "Now I had a hit record in England called "Bless You," which was a big #1 record in England in 1961.
How cool.
And it was written by Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil, who wrote some of the greatest. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So he walks up to me and he goes, "Tony, to think we thought Bless You was funky." Now, I didn't consider that an insult. I considered that a fact.
Right? How cool.
He said, "To think we thought Bless You was funky." And then he got up on stage and he says, in the middle of the whole thing on TV, he goes, "Is this what Tony Orlando and Dawn do?" So I even got that piece of treasure. Because I have my legends too.
No, of course you do. You're sharing them with
Yeah.
us right now, which is really cool to see you light up talking about the people that surrounded you,
Yeah.
that helped your career, that saw that in you. Elvis saw that in you. Frank Sinatra saw it in you. These are living legends. That's American pop culture right there, man.
You're friends with the Nelsons.
Yes, Matt and Gunnar are family.
Share this with them.
Yeah.
So Colonel Parker calls my agent, Norman Brokaw, at the William Morris Agency and says, this is 1975 or 6, "I want to manage Tony Orlando." So now I'm thinking, he's never managed anybody but Elvis.
Right.
I thought. But he did have a management deal for a little bit with Ricky Nelson. So check that out with the boys.
Wow.
To see if that's true.
Yeah.
So he comes in, I'm thinking, and at the time I didn't know that. I thought it was only Elvis. So we have a luncheon at the William Morris Agency. They bring up deli food. We're sitting down. Now, Colonel Parker, for 20 straight years, called my mother on Mother's Day for 20 straight years. So the first thing out of my mouth at the meeting was, "Have you been hitting on my mother?" And he said, "Yes." So I said, "Well, easy does it, kiddo." So we start the conversation with a laugh, right? So he says to me, "I saw your show last Saturday night at the Hilton." I said, "Oh," he goes, "You killed that audience, man." I said, "Well, thank you." He said, "You were up on the booth and you were singing gospel tunes and the audience was singing with you, man." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Elvis loved gospel." I said, "I know, yeah, I know." He goes, "Have you ever watched the 700 Club?" I said, "You mean the religious show?" He goes, "Yeah." "Have you ever noticed they sell like crosses and Bibles and trinkets?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I have an idea. I want to open the Church of the Yellow Ribbon."
No way.
Wait, it gets worse. He goes, "I want to open it, and because you're a preacher, man. You know how much money we could make by selling stuff from the Church of the Yellow Ribbon, crosses with yellow ribbons on them?"
Wow.
So I go like this. I said, "Colonel, I've learned something about you today. First, I've learned that you're a very lucky man to manage Elvis Presley.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And 2, that is the worst effing idea I've ever had in my life."
He wanted it tax-free.
And I said,
Exactly,
right,
exactly.
And I said, and 3, I would be struck by lightning if I did that.
Exactly.
Okay, God would literally put me down for being so sacrilegious. Are you crazy? This is what I said to him. And I said, "By the way, did you manage anybody else other than Elvis?" Because I managed for a while Ricky Nelson.
No way.
That's what he told me. So I asked the boys.
I'll ask him.
That's
Didn't he
true.
prevent Elvis from going international because of something to do
Because
with
he
his
wasn't a
past-
resident, a citizen.
Right.
So he was afraid to get out there.
Right.
The other reason that he didn't, and this is what he told me, this is what he probably told everybody, he didn't like the fact that there was double taxing. So when you worked in England, you got taxed by England, and then you got taxed here. So he said, "No, I'm not going to send it. Elvis won't make anything, and I get 50% of what he makes."
Right.
But I told that story.
50%.
Yeah, ridiculous. So I told that story. He was a scoundrel in the end.
Yeah.
He was a scoundrel.
Yeah.
He was brilliant, and I'll tell you how.
It says a lot because he came at you to want to open the
But I told
Church of Yellow
exactly.
Ribbon.
But I told Priscilla this story just recently. I said, "Priscilla, Listen to
I would love to meet her,
Listen
by
to
the
what
way.
the colonel said to me about, and I tell her the whole story about the Church of the Yellow Ribbon. She starts to laugh and she goes, "I hate to tell you this, Tony, but it was a good idea." She said, "You would have made a fortune." She said, "Because let me tell you what that tells me." She said, "Let me tell you what that tells me." Now, do you remember the scene in the film where the mom comes out, Elvis's mom, she says, "Hate Elvis buttons you're selling?"
Yeah, because he got both sides of it. He sold to the people who hated Elvis.
So
and the people who
Priscilla said, remember that scene? Trinkets. That's where he always was at. When he said trinkets, we could sell trinkets at the Church of the Yellow Ribbon. That's where he was at. And if you notice in the movie, he's constantly getting little ideas, things to sell,
Right.
merchandise to sell. And she said that's where all the money was really made, was made on merchandise, because he was a circus guy. He couldn't help thinking like a circus guy.
Right.
So what happened with you and him?
Nothing. He ended up passing away. I'd see him on occasion. The last time I saw him was with my wife Franny and I, and we went to see him at the Hilton. And he was. It was when the Hilton was taking pieces of the stage. That was the original stage, and he gave me a piece for a kid that did an Elvis impersonation in my show, my Christmas show, and he signed it to him. And here's what he signed it to him. This showed a good side to him. He hated Elvis impersonators, right? He said, "You are not an impersonator of Elvis. You are a tribute to Elvis."
Oh, that's great.
And that
That's
kid
nice.
has that forever.
Yeah.
You know,
I could see the colonel thinking, "You're taking money from me."
yeah, yeah.
You know, as an impersonator.
Well, in that scene, in that movie, if you remember, he's negotiating what he's going to get.
Right. Not what Elvis.
Get him on that stage, man. Even if he's falling on his face, get him up there because half of that money is mine.
Right.
It was a sickness, really. And you know what? There's interesting about this film. It was a tragic life. With all that happened to this man, Elvis Presley, he ended up with no money.
Right.
He ended up with no wife. He ended up with no kid. He ended up with a manager that was a scoundrel. He ended up dying at 42 years old.
It was a
It was amazing.
truly
Ultimately,
a
I don't-
hero's journey, actually, because he started here poor, you know, his brother dying at birth,
Right,
to all the way back around where he was
right.
starting over again, but you know, he passed away. There was
And he was a simple dude.
that's
I mean, Elvis was just a simple, regular, everyday, you know, I mean, loved to laugh, loved to kid around, loved to play jokes, loved to be a tricker, you know, trick you into something. He was sensitive. He was insecure at times. Priscilla was telling me, you know, he was very nervous before a show.
wow.
She'd say, "Why are you nervous?" He says, "Well, there's a different audience, Priscilla. This is a whole group, a different group of people. I don't want them looking at their watch and yeah."
Wouldn't he
Yeah.
not come downstairs until he was fully ready?
I think so. Well,
When
there
he
was
was
an
at
elevator.
Graceland?
You know that that suite.
Yeah.
There was an elevator that was made for him that went from that suite to the dressing room. It
So he
was
wouldn't have to
locked
see
when
anybody.
I was there. No one was to use that elevator but Elvis Presley.
Wow.
Wow.
So all of us who worked there, yes, that was our suite, but that elevator, no man, that one said, "This is for the king." It was like a point that was being made, you know.
If there was a time, I know you're still performing and you're still doing this, okay?
I'll be at the Mohegan Sun, as a matter of fact, September 10th. That's at the arena. There'll be 10,000 people.
Mohegan Sun
Oh,
is
that's
in,
my state, Connecticut.
It's in
Okay.
Connecticut,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a $1.8 billion venue,
Yes.
and it houses every major act that you can think of. And I'm honored every year to be asked to come, and I come. I'll be there September 10th. And they show up. And then before the show, I always say to my wife, "Franny, is anybody out there?" I said, "Did anybody show up?"
Do you play Vegas?
Sure, at the South Point.
Really?
Yeah.
I have to go see you.
Yeah,
at the
I've been
South
working
Point.
for Michael Gone now since 23 straight years.
Well, my mom is a huge fan. And huge. Like when I told her that I was having you on.
Why don't you
she-
call her?
We should.
Right
let's
now.
see if she'll. Okay, let's see if she'll answer.
Call her.
That'd be amazing. Hold on. Here we go.
Yeah, let's get her on your podcast.
Oh my God, I
We
love
got to
it.
get Mom, right?
Yeah, and my mom, and
your-
Yeah.
my agent Alan, and
Yeah.
the list goes on and on. You're awesome.
Let's see if my mom will answer. Come on now.
Don't say anything to her first. Let me see. She picks up.
Okay. Otherwise, we'll leave her a message.
Yeah, I know, huh?
That's okay. Leave the voicemail on. I want to get on.
Yeah.
Hello, baby.
Hey, Mama, how you doing?
I'm fine. Are you recording right now?
I actually,
know?
I actually am. So I'm gonna pass the phone over to somebody. He wants to say hello. Just make sure you put it in the mic.
Hold on to something before you do.
Hold on.
Because I'm going to fall over because it's Tony Orlando.
Oh!
Wait, how did you know I was going to call you? Did he say something to you?
No, my granddaughter Sky did, though. See, I have secret agents in my family.
She's in the next room.
Oh,
My niece is
she's
watching in the next room.
Oh
my God.
You know what I was going to do? I was going to say, I was going to do a little quiz, okay? So I'm going to do the quiz anyway. You ready?
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, now if you pass this quiz, you and I having
Well,
dinner.
I'm losing you for some reason. It doesn't want me to take the quiz.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, if you win this quiz,
And you went away again.
Oh, hold on. Take it off Wi-Fi. Here, hold on.
Why?
Hold on. Hold on. There we go. Now do it. There we go.
can you hear me now,
Are
Mom?
we there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Mama, can you hear him?
Can you hear me, Mom?
You. Yes.
Okay, so here's the quiz.
I
Now,
got the worst phone in the world, just so you. Okay.
yeah, but your son does too, so don't worry. so
It's a family thing.
that's right. It's a family thing. Now, you know, your son, let me just start off by saying, and I know you're not going to believe this, but I mean this from my heart. He's a tribute to you.
Did she hear you?
Thank you so much.
Oh,
He is. He's a tribute to you. You know, every parent, and I'm one, and my son is a good friend of his, and Danielle's now. And every parent wants their kid to grow up to be a good person. And success is good. That's great. But to be a good human being is the pinnacle.
I told my kids I didn't care what they'd be. If they were going to be a beach bum, then be a nice, considerate beach bum, kind to people.
Exactly. And that's what your son is. See, I already said he was a tribute to you, and you just profoundly said why. Because that was your teaching to him. That's what you passed on. That's what we're getting. That's what his podcast is going to get. As a much man as he is, and I already put my order into my next life to have his body. Okay, and I also put in my next life to sing like him. But let me tell you something.
Thank you.
Honestly, I'm going to give you a quiz. If you pass this quiz, you and I, just you and I, Mama, we're going to have dinner.
wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
You're going to ask me to sit across from you and eat food? No.
Okay, Mom, now here we go. Okay, here's the first question. How many times do you knock on a ceiling? Once, twice, or 3 times?
Of course, 3 times.
I love it. How many, this is the big one, how many yellow ribbons do you put on the tree? 1?
Tie a yellow ribbon. 1.
Good. 1 around the yellow. Tie yellow. But how much do you do at the final end of the song? How many around that tree to say I'm welcomed home? How many?
Oh,
You're right, 100. We're having dinner.
Ding, 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 ding.
You want it, Mama. And we're going to have dinner anywhere you want.
Oh, wow.
You're a
I
darling.
live in Washington, so
I'll get her out here. They'll come out
I live
here.
in Ocean Park, Washington, which is the oyster capital of the
Washington
world.
State?
Yeah.
Right behind me, about
Well,
a half
you
a
live in a
mile.
beautiful state. My gosh.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
right now it's it's filled with people because they're having the International Kite Festival here right now
Oh,
down on the beach.
oh, that's cool.
Yes, I can't believe it, but I see you and Don. I remember your show, watching it all the time. And when I told Bryan that you had 2 women that sang with you, Don.
Right. And do you know one of those girls, Thelma Hopkins, has gone on to be the longest running sitcom actress in television history.
Wow, that's our last
that was
name,
because of
Hopkins.
her last name.
Hopkins, right? So Thelma went from our variety show to Roots, from Roots to Bosom Buddies,
Oh, wow.
from Bosom Buddies to Give Me a Break, from Give Me a Break to Family Matters as Aunt Rachel for 15 years.
Wow.
To Are We There
Oh,
Yet
my
for
goodness.
5 years, and now she was in Matrix 4, and she is has her own repeat on Netflix with Family Matters. They're doing the new show, Family Matters.
Okay.
And she's just finished a film with De Niro, I heard. So she
Amazing.
hasn't been
Oh,
off
my
television
goodness.
in, let's see, 1973. That's 48 years that girl has not been off TV.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, if you get to see her, tell her I've enjoyed her all those years.
And you know which one she was, Mom? You remember the one that had a nasty mouth and always put me down?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Thelma.
That makes sense.
She said that makes sense.
She said, that makes sense. Now you know why she's in 48 years of television.
Yes.
You know what? You ought to come here and be on the Son's podcast. Well, you're great on the air.
I think we should have both
I
of you
hate
together.
My voice. I heard my voice at the one time. He recorded me a couple times, and I heard it, and I called him up and said, "You're taking me off the air. I do not like my voice."
But
Her
that
voice
goes for
reminds me of,
everybody.
Everyone.
Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah.
Doesn't she sound like
Yeah.
Jennifer Tilly,
Sounds
kind of?
really- I don't know. Didn't know.
Now,
it
have you
sounded
met
that.
Danielle?
That's why my kids never let me sing to them. I tried to, but they would run out of the room.
Oh, Mom, you're a beauty. You really are special. It's a privilege to
Well,
talk to
thank
you.
you so much for calling. I mean, that's incredible. I feel really special right now, especially right now.
Well, you know what this
Thank
reminds
you.
me of? You know when people, a new ship is going off and they come with a big bottle of champagne
Yeah.
and they smack it for good luck? You're that bottle of champagne for this show.
Oh, I love that. I love
Thank you. That's
you.
awesome.
it. Mama, you're coming on the
You
show.
didn't say I was going to stand there and drink it all because that was my option.
Hey, you know what? We're not only going to have dinner, you're going to open for me.
I love it.
Hey, Mommy, you still there?
Thank you.
You still there? All right. Well,
Yes.
other than
him for me.
other than I will hug him for you, but other than him bringing me to tears, I'm sitting across the table. It was awesome, and I had just mentioned that you were a big fan, and he said, "Let's call Mom." So it was his idea. I know you didn't ever want me to do this to you.
That
but-
was awesome.
But it was really great, and
It was Tony. I understood. I understood totally.
So today is the launch of the very first new Hero's Journey podcast with Danielle Vasanova as my co-host.
She's a beautiful girl and a nice one to boot.
Oh yes, 100%.
Send your mama my love.
I will, Mama. Sky's in the next room. I know that she's watching this right now.
She sent me 2 pictures of him. She said, "I'm with Uncle right now," and he told me how excited you were. So she took pictures of the screen and sent them to me.
I'm very excited. This man he and his generation had a huge influence on who I am as
Thank
an
you.
artist.
Thank you.
This day. So I had the chance to share that with him. And we're just about to wrap up the show, Mom, but I love
Okay.
you. Give
I
Dad
love
my
you.
love, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay?
Okay.
I
All
love
right,
you.
baby.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you.
Now, here's the thing that's so wonderful about this, okay? So I know a lot of heavy metal guys
Right?
through the years. And the image that is portrayed is real. But when it comes to Mom and Grandma, that's real too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's so interesting because they become a whole other human being. Hi, Ma.
Yeah. I told,
Hey, Ma. I'm here with, and they go out there.
exactly. When I met Danielle, she was at one of my shows, and her mom was standing right next to her in the front row. Looks like a spitting image, blonde version of Danielle.
Wow.
Beautiful. And just very energetic and whatever. And it was funny because your mom was standing there looking at me because I had mentioned I had just pulled my parents up on stage because I had
that's
my
right. They were
dad
there
play
that
the
day.
spoons in 2 songs. My dad was a singer when I was growing up.
Spoons.
He taught me the spoons.
Yeah,
I
my
was
dad-
in their video.
You know what the number one instrument is on Yellow Ribbon?
What's that?
Spoons.
No way.
That's
What?
incredible. So I wrote a song called Backyard Family Barbecue, and I talk about the backyard growing up and my dad playing the spoons. And so my dad was a singer in a band, and ended up I have a brother and 2 sisters, so there's 4 of us. My parents had me at 16 years old. So I was
Wow.
they've been together since they were 13. Wow. And they had me at 16. So for them to keep me and have me be here, sitting here talking to you is a huge thing, huge for them to take on at 16 years old. But then my dad had to give up music because there was no way of doing that after having 4 kids and this career starting to take off. So he gave it up. So I kept going. So now what I do is I pull my dad out on stage, as you witnessed the very first time we met. There was 3,000 people there, and I'm like, I want to introduce my dad, Mr. Spoonman, and I don't make him sing because he started to lose his hearing, but he sits and plays the spoons and the place goes nuts for 2 songs. That day I pulled my mom up on stage as well, but it's so cool because there are moments where I'm turning and there's 7,000, 8,000 people out there, and I'm like, Dad, look he's on the big screen, and I have a photo. Somebody grabbed it really quickly. You were there too. We were opening up for Daughtry.
Oh, yeah.
The very next week, right
Yes.
after we met.
Yeah.
And I had my arm around him and I literally leaned into his ear and said, we're a long way from the backyard. As he's staring at 8,000 people, and he just left the stage. He just had that opportunity to be on the big screens. And so they were living here with me until my brother got sick. I had really great hair. I shaved it off to match my brother's sick. So I did that for my brother, and it's anyway. So long story.
See the soulfulness you're talking about yourself. Earlier in this show, I said to you, the similarity between you and Elvis was the soulfulness as a man, as a person. He was kind. He was respectful. He had an ego that you may think he had an ego. But if Joe Esposito was sitting right next to me, he could tell you that when Elvis got in the car, the first words out of his mouth to Joe was I okay?
Oh.
Okay. So that similarity should never leave you. That first break of the champagne bottle by your mom today, by some young person who's watching your show, you're setting the stage that in a leather jacket with your hat on backwards, with your cap thing underneath, with your body looking like you do, badass going on that stage and hitting that shit right there, boom. When it comes right down to it, you can still cry when your mom's on the phone.
Yeah.
That's your biggest muscle.
It's beautiful.
The greatest muscle you have is the muscle of kindness, the muscle of respect.
Love that.
That is the greatest muscle. A lot of guys they miss it. They think it's bad. I'm a badass. You ain't a badass until you can say, I forgive you.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know?
Thank you so much.
That's what you are.
And
Thank
you have
you.
that too.
I really
So you're one of
appreciate
my
you.
heroes now.
No.
Because I've learned who you are.
Thank you. And can we do this again with you,
Listen,
please?
as long as we call your mother.
Okay, that sounds good.
It's
And
gonna
now
be a
my
ritual.
mom's gonna make me. He said he's taking me to dinner, so one way or another, if you play South Point, maybe it'll
Yeah, sure.
get him back.
And tell all the young ones out there, I did have some hit records before. What's up? You know, because that's the one line from the movie. All the young people know me from that movie.
Oh, that's-
What's up? That's my boy.
Yeah,
Adam
that's my
Sandler.
boy, Adam Sandler. You were in a couple Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah, but that one did
Yeah.
well. Did well.
Amazing. So, actor, you had your own TV show. We're sitting here with Tony Orlando right now.
Did Broadway in Barnum. I was on Broadway in Barnum.
Wow.
Smokey Joe's Cafe. I had a good run. You
And
know?
you're still going. That's why when I grow up, I want to be you.
Well,
Okay?
Me too.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that. Me too.
Me too.
You don't want to look like this when you grow up. Danielle, you check that one out of the list, okay?
Wow.
What piece of advice would you give to anybody just starting out in their career?
Really and truly is just show up. Things happen
the
when you
battles.
show up.
Yeah.
You know, there's really no magic wand. There's no guarantees. You got to love the art. You got to do it for the love of the art, and everything else. Product first, money later.
Love
Product
that.
first, stardom later. Be a good actress, be a good actor, be a good performer, be a great record guy, be a great podcast guy. The thing that's going to make him great in this podcast is not afraid to show his heart.
The vulnerability.
Yeah. You know, there's all sides to him now that people know.
Well, thank you.
You know,
And
that's
I
what,
appreciate
to me,
you.
that's what makes
I'm in awe and silence over here because I don't know what to say to you, and I'm being extremely.
You've done it
honest when I
already.
say it. Thank you.
You've done it. You've said enough thank yous, but I just want you to know something, okay? When you say, will you come back and do this show?
Yeah.
I need you. Things don't stop.
No.
Doing broadcasts like this helped my career. Even though it's not what it was, and even though I do less of it, it helps me. Your audience already becomes, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 become my audience.
Right.
So I owe you a thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that. So, speaking of that, before we wrap up, do you have any questions for him before we go?
Tony, I think we got it.
Oh, that was brilliant.
I have nothing more to say to that. Paul, did you hear her?
Yeah.
Do it again. Do it again. Just do it again. Paul McCartney, do it again.
Tony, I think we got it.
I love it.
So, you are playing in Connecticut. Where again?
Mohegan
Mohegan
Sun,
Sun.
September 10th.
Okay,
It's
September
the
10th.
Mohegan Sun Arena.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that.
All right. And so today, the teacher sitting back there, say goodbye and hi to everybody.
Yeah, bye everybody. Thank you for allowing me to engineer again, Brian. I know it's you choose out of the 3 of us that are here, and you know it just so happens that I won today, so I'll take it.
Incredible. Thank you.
I want his
Awesome.
voice in
I
my
know.
next life.
Yes.
So it's my body, your voice. Yeah.
And then
Our powers combined.
Mine comes without a left chest muscle, though. I was born with a defect, so we'll get into that another time.
well, I'll take her left.
Yeah, there we go.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. So, as you said, today our guest was Tony Orlando, and this was part 2. So, we're hoping that we get a part 3 and part 4. So, hopefully, you can come back and see us again.
Forever.
Thank you.
And
so,
ever.
anytime.
Promise?
You know who I want to bring on?
yeah,
Chris Angel.
perfect.
Let's do
I
it.
think you and Chris would just, and Danielle, you'll just love him, and you'll get along. Very similar guys, very similar heart.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've met him a couple of times. I did a ride with him, Harley ride
Oh,
for
did you?
Randy
Yeah.
Couture a couple of times. So
oh,
I've
he's
been
friends
around
with
him.
Randy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Let's
yeah,
do
we
it.
definitely have to
He'd
do
be
that.
a great guest, and he doesn't do podcasts, but I'm going to break him until he comes here to you because
thank
this
you.
is a marriage made in heaven, really.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love it.
So as Danielle and I want to do, we want to inspire you out there, and we want to be what? Inspired.
Yes.
Correct? So we
Inspired,
got
be
inspired
inspired.
today.
So
So
I've got 3 words for you. I think it's 3 words.
Okay.
4 words. Thank you. Thank you very much.
this is a Hero's Journey podcast with Brian Hopkins.
And Danielle Vasanova. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Dream, and I believe it's coming around to me.